Going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the DuoQ podcast. I'm Rev. This is.
Uh,
There you go. All right, let's get into it.
Alright. So had a lot of shit happen last week. Obviously, LAT Super Team got officially announced. Sender went over there to LAT also. Not a few teams have came out here and there, rumored rosters, but not really any announcements other than Astro and Geo being signed.
A lot of teams switching around players. A lot of teams trying to go after players. Royal Raven specifically. Gwen's trying to make a team over there, but people keep jumping ship to other teams and stuff like that. So a lot of roster swaps are going on with the mid pack teams. Um, Nothing too interesting really after the super team formed. Just like the lower tier teams fucking going back and forth. Um, no real idea like on most of the rosters right now. We'll have to see, but after this happened, that LAT was officially made. A lot of the teams should be getting on the move now. Speaking of which, having to do with rosters, the minimum salary cap was just negated. It's no more. It's not a thing anymore. They can pay
Uh,
the absolute minimum now. I mean, they don't have a cap on it anymore. The salary cap originally was banned because technically they weren't legally able to do that, but they still had a minimum. Looks like they're not having that happen anymore. Looks like the landscape is kind of changing back to what it should be and not in this like sports image that they tried making it into. Glad the players got their bags while it lasted, but it's not going to happen anymore.
isn't it going off of like the state's minimum wage now?
I actually don't know. I'm not sure.
From what I heard, and like hasn't been fully confirmed or whatnot, but each state, right, and it don't even matter if like the team plays in like Texas or not. Apparently, it's goes off of where the team is located at. So let's say Vegas, the Falcons, their minimum would be whatever like minimum wage would be for, I guess, Vegas,
Hmm. I didn't hear
and
anything
then
about that.
yeah, I don't know how true it is. It's just something I've been hearing going around. But like we said, nothing fully has came out yet.
No,
Um,
Matt, I am not.
on some real shit, I don't like this. I don't like this move. I understand that it's one of the things to like try and save money, but at the end of the day, there should be at least a minimum. Because there's some fucking orgs that are shitty as hell and will pay fucking under whatever the fuck the minimum was last year.
Then don't take it. Then don't take it. It's the landscape is changing up a lot, so all these rosters, the contracts are getting restructured and that, and budget cuts, layoffs, things like that. But I mean, buyouts that we've seen before, they were Optic was gonna buy out Pred for fucking half a mil. That didn't happen. And reportedly, Envoy's buyout was less than 67K. I mean, pennies on the dollar. So buyouts aren't priced like that anymore. I'm assuming there's only a few contracts that are heavily priced like that. I'm assuming most of Optics are. I'm assuming Scrap, Hydra got some big contracts, but it's looking like the landscape of the league is downshifting to where it should be. This league just doesn't attract the attention or get the revenue that can make millions like that. The players should not be making $1 million off of an org when the org is losing so much more money in return.
Hmm.
The only teams that could do that are like FaZe, Optic, those sorts of orgs because they can pay for it in the back end with the content made from their players specifically. I mean, even like LAT, I believe could have a crazy good year revenue wise, pushing content with that COD team. But other orgs, they have no shot in making. I mean, nobody's watching Royal Ravens content or anything like that. So
Unless it's got Clay in it, no one's watching that shit.
This is kind of what it should be. It's kind of what it was in the past. If you're a big org willing to dish out some money to one really good player and surround him with players that you think might work around him, that's how it should be. It shouldn't just be the biggest orgs dumping a bunch of money on top of, like four players, giving them the bag or whatever.
Hmm.
But I kind of want to see a balancing out. I mean, now you can say it's going in the opposite direction, but this was also Nate Shot pulling out of his own paycheck to get these boys on the same team together. So I'm not too pressed about the future as long as we can get the CDL shit to kind of like die back down to what it was originally in the CWL. I think the landscape for the league is going to be looking good in the next few years.
Also, I want to talk about the Adam Adesella,
Apicella.
uh, Apicella. Yeah, I think him joining back with ESL is a good move for not only the CDL but challengers as far as their event planning goes and how they go about having events.
Adam Apicella coming back into the scene is good for everyone. It doesn't matter what he's doing, whatever he's doing is going to be good for the scene. He knows what he's doing. He's been here before. He's done it. He's been super successful in everything that he's done in Call of Duty. Having him in Faceit is phenomenal because Faceit needs help. They do. The Challengers scene last year ran by Faceit. It was their
That shit
first
was
year.
horrid.
Their first year doing it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. Especially the refing. The refing, they had no clue what they were doing. They were giving people free wins. They it was ridiculous. It was a joke. I'm sure a lot of Challengers players would agree with that. It was ridiculous. While they tried their hardest and it was their first year doing it, it doesn't matter. This is a professional league and that's a step down. So hopefully Adam Apicella gets that is in a role where he can make changes to positively affect Challengers scene especially.
And even if it's not this year, because like yes, I know like he's coming on late as far as like planning goes for like the upcoming season and whatnot. Even just him being in the room and throwing out ideas is good for the community.
Yeah, that's a voice that you have to listen to.
Yes.
A
And if
lot of
you don't
those
listen to it, things are gonna go wrong.
a lot of these CDL people have no clue what they're doing. They came into a league where they were like, "Oh, we want this to be formed after the football model, regular national sports model." It's not like that. It never has been like that. It never should. Everyone knows that. Um, Hopefully, Adam Apicella has some good ideas and they actually listen to them. Otherwise, you're right. It's going to go down the bad path like it has the past few years. They've been losing all this money. They've been making poor decisions and stuff like that. So hopefully it'll get back on track. And they've been stepping in the right direction as of this year. They had that streaming on Twitch thing debacle that happened. And then they started cutting the salary cap, the latest change we saw, but they also took the buy-in out. Um, Orgs are starting to get their money back that they've lost from buying in to the first place, which was an insane amount of money to buy into the league in the first place.
25 mil is
So
fucking insane.
hopefully this is setting up to be an expansion in the next few years. We'll go back to a CWL sort of format where we can actually have bracket play, pool play, and get into the nitty gritty of the good days of COD.
Realistically, if everything works out the way we think it's gonna work out, is there even a challenger scene in 2, 3 years time?
If there's expansion and it goes back to CWL format, there's no need for a challengers scene. As you're seeing now, collegiate COD is picking up. A lot of players like Brack are going over to collegiate COD. I think Dylan Rex as well, right? So you've got some of the top challengers talent going over to collegiate league to get their scholarship, to get a free ride, to get their education, and to play COD and to show how good they are. And on top of that, so we'll probably see a shift towards collegiate COD, especially if there's an expansion. Because if there's an expansion and there's like 32 teams, you see the Lightning Pandas and teams like that or orgs like that come back. I mean, you're not going to need challengers because these people are going to be able to prove themselves in chows and everything like that. And hopefully, we get that landscape back to where we can have those sorts of things, to where people get noticed by shitting on a pro in a money wager and they get picked up by a team and we start seeing people rise through like that.
I mean, personally, I agree with you that the CCL is gonna become a big part of competitive COD in the next 2 to 3 years, especially if it goes back to the CWL landscape with challenges coming just completely disappearing. Because those challenger teams won't have to be like a minor league team. They would just par- participate against the pros, kind of like how we seen at EWC this year.
Yeah. Um I think challengers players would be dumb if they decided to stick with challengers and to not to take these other routes they have through college. I get that you might feel that you're not grinding hard enough to be where you want to be, but realistically, how many players get picked up unless you're on a top challengers team? And even when you are, say, Brack, like people aren't getting picked up,
I mean,
and
shit,
you're
look
getting
at Cobra
offers.
this year.
Yeah, and you're getting offers from bottom of the barrel teams. Dylan Rex got an offer from the Rocker and denied it.
I mean,
Um,
can you blame him?
no, I can't. I really can't.
Fucking Minnesota,
I
that's gonna
really
be
can't
god awful.
because you see a lot of these young players get their first shot and their first shot doesn't go too well. Joe DeCeves being one of them. First shot didn't go so well, but luckily he was young enough to where they were like, okay, we want to try him out again, and he did make splashes. But you see players like this all the time where they get picked up in the middle of the season or at the end of the season. They have some bad performances, probably because their team sucks, and then they're never heard from again, or they come back in a few years. Kismet being one of them. I mean, some of these players' careers are chalked by getting signed by a bottom of the barrel team. When if it was like the CWL and they could all form rosters, make a run, and get notoriety that way, it'd work out so much better.
Do you think that if it does go back to CWL landscape, that you will see as much roster mania like turnaround as we have seen in the last 5 years?
If there's more teams, yeah, there's going to be more moves. If there's more teams, there's going to be more moves, more splashes. It's just going to be a lot of moves that don't necessarily matter. I mean, you're going to see the same amount. There might be more hype around it, to be honest. Maybe a little less. Actually, let me rephrase this. There's going to be less hype. There's going to be more things happening. There's going to be less hype because you're going to see the mid pack players team with other mid pack players and stuff like that. Lower tier players or players with a lot of talent and upside. You'd see someone like Gwen getting picked up on a pretty good team probably, and then you'd see someone like Nero going to a possibly pretty bad team, just surrounded by players that people haven't heard of. So you'd be like, it's got its give and take. It's got a give and take. You'd see more changes and stuff like that. But the whole thing is that talent isn't the only thing that matter, which is a lot of what people have forgotten. Back in the day, you used to have a roster that fit. If it didn't fit, if it didn't work well together, no matter how much talent they had, they would get slammed out of bracket. I mean, it happened all the time. Um, I wanted to go back to that to where you actually have to build a team around a really good player, put a solid team around them, maybe one iffy player. Too much of the same going on in the CDL. There's only
Yeah.
12 teams. There's only so much talent.
Realistically, there's only 10 spots.
Yeah. Even then, it's like top six, bro. There's top six. There's the top four that are always the top four. It always happens. There's always four top teams. There's always sixth through eighth or fifth through eighth is always like interchangeable. And maybe ninth too, and then the bottom two teams or bottom three teams are always never close. Obviously, that happened in the past too. Obviously, there was a couple top teams every year. There was a couple top teams, but it switched every year based on the people teaming if they worked really well together. There was a couple teams that were top teams that you wouldn't think now you would look back on and you'd be like, that guy was on a top team, won multiple tournaments. Yes, that's how it worked back then, and I want it to go back like that. It's not just the same org running everybody's pockets again and again and again and again. So I miss that. I miss when there was top teams clear cut, but there was also crazy runs that you could watch.
Hmm.
So
I
I want us
mean,
to go back to that.
realistically, we can potentially see more runs like how LAT had at EWC this year.
Yeah.
Just from like a team that is good enough to compete on Saturdays, that you not always has the potential to get to Sundays, but can just make a run.
Mm.
We've talked about it before. Scump and them talked about it before. How does the day-to-day game? You could be pissed on everyone one day. You could get shit on the next.
Yeah. The only problem with
Um,
that is that it's day to day for some teams. Don't get it twisted. This year is going to be the same as last year, probably, where it's just like the top three teams run everybody's pockets the first half of the year. Then teams start catching up because they finally catch up knowledge gap and they finally bridge that gap between the talent difference with the knowledge that they gain by grinding. And you're going to see a lot of that. It's going to happen again where it's going to be top three the first half of the year, and then the last two majors, it gets a little interesting at the end.
so we talked about it last week. Nero potentially going to that Cloud9 roster with attached Sib and Kremp.
Yep.
That now is a no go. Apparently, Matt's stepping into that role
Yep.
instead of Nero. You just want to give your opinion on that? I personally I don't think it moves it too much. Top
Um,
five, top six.
I like this team a lot more with Mac on it.
Oh, 100%.
A lot more. I like it a lot more. People think of Mac and they only think of his Seattle days where he was the one trying to do all of the dirty work. I think it's a known quantity that they want him to fry this year. They want him to run shit. And with Kremp by your side, making it so much easier to do that, I think Mac's going to have a great year. I'm not going to lie to you. I think I really wanted to see him run a flex on Royal Ravens, but I can do with this. I think this team is fifth or sixth. I think it's fifth or sixth.
Excuse me.
Several times. I think they repeatedly get fifth through sixth, fifth through sixth. They get a top four sometimes, top three, but that's what I'm thinking. It's be consistently top of the mid pack. Like I said, I like this team a lot better with Mac than I do with Nero. I think him and Kremp fit a lot better than Nero and Kremp, so I like this for them.
Do you remember who we had as the fourth for Minnesota last week? It
Uh,
was Gio Estriel.
it was not Geo. It was Paul X, Arcides, Hook.
That's what it was.
Yeah, Hook and Estriel. So originally Rocker was going to be, it was rumored as Paul X definitely, Hook, Estriel, and Arcides. It's looking like it's probably not going to be that anymore. Hook and
Now,
Arcides are out of the equation.
oh no, I was just gonna say now it's looking like Nero is signing instead of Hook to Minnesota. Apparently both Nero and Paulette chose Minnesota over Carolina,
Mm.
which I don't know. I think for Dom, for Carolina's sake, I think it's a good idea that they didn't choose Carolina.
Um,
I don't see either of them being in the league at the end of the season.
I'll put it this way. I think when you look at the difference between Carolina and Rocker, and you look at the players you could potentially play with, I think that you would probably have more success. Let's say if you're Mac on that team, I think you would have more success. But if you're Paul X, I don't think you have more success. I think you get dropped. So Paul X is probably thinking about his security there. Also, who would you rather play for? G2 as an org who's predominantly winning in other esports and is a proven org, or Carolina Royal Ravens who haven't had any success in COD or anything, to my knowledge. Um, when you look at COD orgs, you look at G2 being a big org. That's always a good sign that you're probably going to get paid a little more. And even if not, they're playing with young talent. They are playing with a lot of young talent. Geo, Estriel were two highly touted rookies. I'm so excited to see them play on the same team. I'm so glad Minnesota changed what they were doing originally, because that original roster, I did not like
Jesus.
it at all. Also, Paul X and Geo being on the same team is a little iffy. They're both flexes, so we got to see how that's going to work out. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them gets dropped. I also wouldn't be surprised that this is a heavy sub meta game and they kind of run some shit. I'm not going to lie. It could happen. It's happened in prior years, especially with the Rocker franchise. You saw everyone knowing that picking up like 4 ARs or 3 ARs in Cold War was a terrible idea. But with it being so heavily AR meta in that game, it worked out. So
I just got PTSD. You mentioning Minnesota and fucking Cold War.
yeah, so maybe they got something cooking with the two flexes, but I don't see it really sticking out. I think either Paul X or Geo is gonna go, and if I had to assume, it'd be Paul X.
Yeah.
Geo last year in his stint had more success than Paul X has ever had. Obviously, I'm pretty sure Paul X won a um what was it called? They won a tournament in Vanguard, didn't they? On New
Mm,
York. On New York, they won a tournament.
I can't remember. I
Statistic,
didn't.
yeah. Well, statistically, Paul X hasn't had the success that Geo has. Geo proved to be a top slayer last year. I like this team a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I'm hoping that Estriel can play well with Nero next to him. I didn't even after I said it about Hook being inconsistent last year. You never really know with Hook, and this is gonna be a fast-paced game, a very fast-paced game. So Hook might be pretty good in this title. Who knows? I don't think he gets another shot though. I don't think another org goes after him. If I'm being honest.
If I'm being honest, I think this is Hood's prove it year.
Yeah,
That if he doesn't do good this year, he doesn't see a roster spot
I'd agree
again.
with that. I'd agree with that. If he manages to get on a roster, he's gonna have eyes on him
Often,
immediately. And if he goes down to challengers, he's got to fry. Because if he doesn't fry in challengers, he's definitely not getting picked up after that. So he's really got to figure it out. Another thing, it was speculated that Ilya was going to get onto a team at the beginning of Roster Mania. It's not looking like it right now. Nobody knows what's going on with Ilya. Shotzi just put out something in a live stream where he said he's been trying to help him throughout his issues. As soon as it happened, everything went down. Um, Illy might not be getting a chance again. So that's honestly sad from an Optic fan, watching Illy have so many problems with injury and then coming back and then having those other issues that gets him benched in the first place while he was frying as much as he was, to not getting a chance afterwards. It sucks. Illy is one of the more talented players, and we haven't even seen his peak. And it's kind of hard to see it go down like that, to be honest.
I mean, yeah, it's an unfortunate thing for Illy because at being an Opta fan, that was one of the guys of the CDL,
Yeah,
and like. It's hard to see him not get a spot or even potentially get a spot this year. I don't know if he's gonna do challengers or what the hell he's gonna do. But if this was Illy's last ride, this is a sad way to go out.
Yeah, definitely not a good way to go out.
And like, it's not even the fact of him not being able to contribute or like talent wise,
Hmm.
being the reason why he's not able to play. And it's kind of like D Rose, got the injuries that wasn't the same after.
Yeah.
Um,
In other challengers news, a few rosters came out recently. I know Exceed, Diamond Con, Fame, and Yuli are teaming together. Um, Exceed having most of his team go to collegiate COD. He kind of was forced to look into the pit, try to find a team he could play with. So we got some challengers teams being formed right now. So how do you think this team's gonna perform?
I seeing what Diamond Con and Fame did last year. I don't think that it's gonna be too much. I do think that they'll have an opportunity to get picked up by a bottom team, or rather that be Vegas making a move. Am I faded as shit?
I think you're cooked, bro. I'm gonna be real with you. I think you're cooked. Diamond Khan not being on a team is insane to me. Diamond Khan, he cooks, he fries. Diamond Khan he's him, bro.
He was
Uh,
good at the beginning of last season, but like kind of fell out towards halfway through the season.
Even his fall
Ooh,
off was better than most of the players in the league at that point. I mean, comparing him to other main ARs, he was still there. Honestly, Fame is one of the most inconsistent players ever. Either he drops 50 or he drops 15. It's so weird to watch. I haven't watched very much of Yuli, and Exceed had plenty of success, bro. Exceed was playing any role he possibly could on FaZe Black. So I actually think this team goes far. I think this team wins minimum two. I think they win minimum two. I think you see him
up.
in Challengers Champs finals. I think this is a good
Ooh,
team. I think this is a good team. And probably what's going to happen is one of them's going to get picked up. Probably Diamond Con, if any, maybe Exceed. And if they don't, I think they switch out either Yuli or Fame. But Diamond Con and Exceed is a good pair. I mean, this team is it looks pretty good on paper.
you want to talk about the Cobra Brazil team? That's
Um, I mean, we can.
I mean, like personally, I don't really know much about these players.
Um, so Vortex, Cobra, Brezzy, and Super. Um, to be honest, that's a really good team. If I'm being
I've
real,
heard of all of them names.
if I'm being real. But I've got my knocks on Brezzy, but he's decent, right? He's not like he didn't have an atrocious stint. He still
Hmm.
had decent placements and stuff like that. And Cobra was supposed to be on a team with Lens. Ended up not happening. um,
Lynn wants to run it with the 2023 champs.
yeah, that was probably some sort of when we were all talking about contracts and stuff when Ben J came out with all the predicted rosters. I don't think it was predicted that Linz was on just a 1 year, or maybe they let him go or something. I have no clue, but somehow Linz got out of the Rock organization, and Cobra got kind of left out, to dry. So he's back down in the pit. Got to see what he can do with him, Vortex, Super, and Brezzy. Super also a really big shout. I believe he's a Spanish player. Surprised that he didn't get on Heretics. To be honest, I know the Spanish players kind of like separate into two different sides. Um, it's surprising to me that Super isn't on Heretics. I'm not gonna lie.
Do you think that, depending on how Heritage season goes, he gets that opportunity?
I think it's the reason why Real wouldn't team with them in the first place, or they wouldn't pick up Real. I don't know how the whole situation went, but I think that you could see it. It's a possibility if they're getting smoked out of the stadium. Like, you got to pick up Super. You have no choice. It's the best option. But if they don't have to and they're getting constant like mid-range placings, I don't think they do. I think they stray away from that and they go with the same 4 or 5 or 6 players that they've been rotating in and out. I think they'll stick with that. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It's unpredictable at this point. You never know who's getting picked up out of challengers because sometimes it's just a random player that you've never heard of, and it's not even like statistically the best player or the winningest players. Like it's just based off of networking and who wants to play with who, and it kind of seems like the other Spanish players don't want to play with Super, so it is what it is. Um, Another team that just got made being okay. So you got Dens, Bants, and Mythics. I don't know the other guy. I've heard of him, never watched him play. I have no knowledge on him whatsoever. Um, Bants, you know Bants, one of the
Yeah,
goats,
boy.
one of the goats on the UK side.
Wasn't he supposed to be coaching or doing something with Toronto?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you. Mythics,
Because
Mythics is a name that you're gonna have to pay attention to here. Mythics is a monster. People don't know about Mythics. Mythics wins everything. Absolutely everything. Mythics cooks. So Mythics and Vance being on the same team, I'm excited to see what they do. I think they could run in a major. I think they could run down a major and win one.
Mythics
Um,
played for that Omit team last year, right? The Omit EU team.
I think so. He is he's a good player. So I'm excited to see what Vance and Mythics have in store this Challenger season.
Um, my take on it, Mythics. I've heard a little bit about him through. I'm gonna guess it was Omit. Um, dog.
Dog.
Ain't much. Ain't much else to say about that. He's a dog. Um, Bance, you already know who the fuck Bance is.
Yeah,
Dog.
dog.
So, other than Mythics and Bance, fucking, I don't really know much about the other two. I'm excited to learn
Yeah.
about them this year because this team does look nasty. But I thought I could have swore that Bance had something to do with Toronto Ultra after EWC because they had the vlog or podcast or some shit come out after EWC.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, there was like a little teaser of him coming in, sitting down, and whatnot.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
So
I'm not sure.
I don't know
Maybe he
what's
signed
up with
as the
all that.
sub. Maybe he signed as the sub. Because that could always be the case. Speaking of Toronto Ultra, you had their CEO say some stuff, calling LAT a hoodie org and all that. Nate Shot didn't like those
They made some nice
comments.
hoodies.
They
They made
they
some
do
nice
they
hoodies.
made they. I mean, hold up. It's a nice ass hoodie, bro. I mean, this
They
is a
do
nice
drop some
ass hoodie,
fire
bro.
hoodies.
They dropped some fire hoodies, bro. I'm not gonna lie. But to call them a hoodie org after they just bought out your two best players, like it's a bit disrespectful. And to come out and Nate didn't like that they announced they were dropped before they announced that they were picking them up. They didn't coordinate anything. It's like he was kind of hinting at like it's a show of respect between orgs and
Yeah,
CEOs. You respect the players and the other org that you're sending them to or whatever. You didn't just give them away for free, is what Nate Shot said. We paid for them out of pocket and we expected to see some
there's
sort
a
of
lot
respect
for
and he kind of looked a little salty when he was doing it too, calling him a hoodie org and all that. Yeah, okay. I mean, it was a
He
bit
also said
ridiculous.
that Toronto's gonna finish better than them
Yeah,
this
in
year.
2025. That's not happening. That's not happening. You're
There's
cooked.
no fucking shot that's
He
happening.
he just made a fool of himself. To be honest, um, Toronto Ultra's CEO made a fool of himself on the timeline. I'm not gonna lie. Like everything that he said, first of all, from them being disrespectful and announcing things before LAT announced anything, calling LAT a hoodie org, saying that LAT was gonna get proven to be worse than Ultra in 2025. It's faded as fuck, and it looked jealous. It looked salty, but they bought your players because your org can't pay for them anymore. I don't know why you're mad about that. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I think, it was just one of those things where he's seen all the hype that was going around with LAC picking them up and whatnot, and he just got salty that he just lost two of his franchise players. Well, realistically, one of his franchise players, but
It shouldn't
his
even,
cornerstone player, and a really good player.
bruh. Like, be mad at your bosses. Be mad at the people that you're getting money from the board. Be mad at the
Yeah,
board.
I mean,
But
shit.
how are you gonna be
Look at what
mad?
Nate did.
Yeah,
Look at what Nate did. He specifically went to the board and told them we have to get this done.
yeah. I mean,
Your job as CEO, whatever the fuck it is you have priority over them. Do
be
your fucking job.
be mad at the person that pays you that couldn't pay them, bro. Don't be mad at somebody who just said, "Okay, we'll offer you this much money for those players since you guys can't afford them." Don't be mad at them, bro. That doesn't make any sense. It makes you look foolish. You look foolish.
It makes you look like a 12-year-old.
You look like a child when you go out there and call them a hoodie org or whatever. It's ridiculous. Grow up. Be mad at your board. Be mad in private. You can say, "Oh, I wish we could have signed them. It was a really good while it lasted. Whatever. They wanted to make it work. We couldn't make it happen. It is what it is. We'll try our best in 2025." Be a fucking professional. Grow up. You're a CEO, bro. Like you shouldn't be acting like a child. You don't deserve that position if you're gonna act like a child at the end of the day.
And the way LAT responded to everything was fucking
LAT's
hilarious.
response was perfect, bro. Yeah, use his name. That's the discount code for our hoodies, bro. Get
On
fucked.
top of the sale that was already going on,
Yeah, yeah, bro. Get ran, bro. It is what it is. Now you're gonna get bounced out, bro. Guarantee, guarantee. Nade Shot's gonna pull him aside and be like, "You better slam these motherfuckers." Like Ghosty when he plays Toronto, Ghosty's slamming them, bro. Ghosty is slamming them when he plays Toronto. Yo, if you're on Prize Picks, whatever, over on Ghosty when they play
take that
Toronto.
over.
Take that
Honestly,
over.
take the
Take
over
the
on the
over,
whole
bro.
team.
Take the over. Because Toronto, when they play LAT, are getting packed up 3-0, door dashed, whatever you want to call it. Take the over, bro.
It's gonna be
Ghosty's going
2023
nuclear.
champs all over.
4-0, you know what it is, bro. Get out of here.
35 minutes. 5-0.
Yeah. We ain't got much to talk about other than that.
There was one other thing. Realistically, last thing I want to touch on before we end off here. Shout out Heads and the Opta guys for allowing Nade and the LAT boys to play out of the headquarters for this season. Obviously, he ain't got to do that, but the relationship between 100 Thieves and Opta goes deeper than
Yeah.
what is shown on the surface level. And just shout out to Heads for being an overall good dude, because realistically, he could have charged Nade an arm and a fucking leg to rent out a space.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's just letting them use it.
He could have just straight told him no. To be
That
honest, he
too,
could have just straight told him no. I'm
that
sure a
too.
lot of these other orgs would have. Toronto. Um,
But yeah, just big shout out to the big boss man. That's You know, good guy. Good guy overall.
I'm actually really curious as to see what they do with the LAT compound in California. Like, are they keeping that around? Are they going to use it for their other esports? What are they doing with it? Because realistically, that's an expensive compound. They could probably sell that and recoup their costs. To be honest,
LA get a building in Texas.
yeah, sharing a building and I mean even renting from Optic and maybe even splitting the cost is got to be a lot more price efficient than just paying for their entire compound in LA, especially with it being in LA. Hopefully they get that situated so they don't lose out on too much revenue.
I mean, shit. Nate said he's running a bunch of ads just to pay for Hydra's fucking salary this year. So
Yeah,
if you watch
cutting
Nate's shot, you gotta you gotta be prepared for them ads.
Nate Shot might have gotten finessed a little bit too. He was talking about how they were saying that there was another offer, but evidently there wasn't.
Really?
Yeah, evidently there wasn't another offer, and he might have gotten finessed out of some money out of his paycheck. So that kind of sucks for Nate, but he's get to watch this team all year. You take your licks. It is what it is. At least you secured one of these dominant
God's
rosters.
gods.
I mean, me personally, the potential of this team is up there with FaZe and Optic. I mean,
I
we
would
could
go even
see
further than that and say the potential of this roster is the potential of the dynasty.
the potential of the roster. Oof, that's a big shout. It's the potential of a dynasty. As the potential of a dynasty. FaZe has that potential too, but they kind of lost out on it because them switching, and winning one a year or 2 year. It is what it is. But we could see another dynasty esque build, a dynasty roster in the making. It kind of just depends on.
Realistically, we could see three dynasties being made right now.
I don't know if that's how that works. One's got to be dominant enough. A dynasty, you got to be dominant year after year. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna
Realistically,
be hard.
you go through the year, say there's 5 events, 4+ champs, top three wins out.
Nah,
Then
man.
they just start trading rings every year. I
Yeah,
don't
but it
know,
can't.
three
It can't.
dynasties.
It can't be known as a dynasty at that point. A dynasty is someone that dominates in multiple titles, not a team that top three every time. Because if that's the case, then Optic was like the greatest team ever. Nobody's coming close. If all their top threes or whatever come into
That's
effect,
a
yeah,
good shout.
that's insane, bro. We can't count top threes. Nobody looks at the losers, the first losers, the second loser. Nobody's looking at that. They're looking at the winners. If you look back through the years and you see FaZe placed, oh, second. You don't think, oh, that's part of a dynasty. No, it's not, bro. They placed second. They didn't win anything. So um, you have to be dominant enough to win three or more in multiple titles to be even considered a dynasty. And obviously, it has the potential of being that. Does Scrap and Hydra have the potential of making a dynasty roster? Yes. Is it going to happen? Probably not. Will they be considered a dynasty with multiple top threes fighting amongst other potential dynasty rosters? No, it's not how that works. You got to be dominant. So I don't think it happens, but I'm excited to see how it rolls. I'm excited to see how it goes, and I'm excited to see
I just need
if
this
these
season to get
teams
here.
stick together at the end of the year. Because if we see three top three teams completely stick together with their rosters, that'd be impressive. That does not happen. So I'm interested in what happens.
Realistically, okay. What are we at time wise?
49, but we're probably at like 37 realistically.
And I'm gonna yap here for a second.
Okay.
So realistically, out of the top three teams, I think if one of them was to make a change, it would be FaZe. Just because they were on the verge of making a change last year. Optic had just made their 2-man change last year.
Yeah.
FaZe was on the verge of making their change if they didn't win EWC. I think that if any team's making a change in the top three, it's going to be FaZe.
Um, I probably agree with that, to be honest. Cell even said before ESWC that he was fully expecting to be dropped at the end of the season until he had his crazy performance to win ESWC. So I wouldn't be surprised. If you see them only win one this year, it's probably happening. Um, that
I
would
would
be
say they
huge.
even win two, just because of how much
No. With how competitive of a league it is and with how few tournaments they're getting, if there's only 5 tournaments total, including ESWC, or 6 including ESWC, and they only if they win 2, that it stick together, bro. You
it
won
it,
2.
it but yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's gonna be phased to make a change. LAC's not making a change. They just formed their roster this year. No matter how bad the beginning is, they're not making a change. Paid way too much money for this roster. They're they're just not making a change. Optic coming off of champs, it's highly unlikely they would make a change. If they were to have, make a change, who would it be for? You're
Yeah,
not getting any of the top players, so why even make a change at that point? Realistically, if there's someone that needs to make a change, it's gonna be FaZe.
yeah. To be honest, if one of these teams doesn't do so well, or if LAT just dominates, the only thing I could possibly see is a swap between like Celium and Dashi. It's the only thing I could see possibly happening,
Then I would
which
be.
I would be tilted about, but it's not gonna happen, so it doesn't matter. That's the only realistic thing I see happening, unless the two teams that underperform are Optic and LAT. Then I could see something happening there.
Crap for
Um,
Optic.
but I don't know. I just don't think there's going to be a change made after this year on these top 3 teams. I don't. I think they stick it out. The only team that has the possibility of making a change is realistically LAT and Envoy. I don't think they drop Ghosty.
No,
I
no.
think Envoy's the odd man out, no matter how you look at it. So that's the only thing I see possibly happening.
I know you have your gripes about Envoy, and you think he's overrated.
He's definitely overrated. I've heard him called a superstar plenty of times. He's not, but I didn't say he wasn't a good player. He definitely is.
But I think he has a major bounce back here from last year.
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see the Prince of Thieves come back strong. I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, Optic is my favorite org. Has been since I was a kid. But Nade is my favorite player of all time. So 100Z, I love what they do. It's my second favorite. 100%. If Optic isn't in the running, LAT, let's go. Let's get it. I'm rooting. But I do want to see this team perform well.
To Mafia fucking community, I'm coming for your ass.
They've
I'm
been
coming for that ass.
they've been hiding some of my posts. For
I'm
what?
coming
For
for that
what, bro?
ass.
For what, bro? Hiding posts that are just questioning whether Nero has ice or not, or hiding that shit. Whatever, man. Whatever.
I'm
These
coming for
mods are
that ass.
soft. These mods are soft.
Alright, so that's episode 5 of the DuoQ podcast. We really appreciate everyone that stuck around all the way to the end of us fucking yapping. If you want to keep up with me or Rev, our link trees will be down in the description below. The podcast Twitter account will also be linked down below. Also, if you want to keep up with our org, Infamous Thieves, that link tree will also be down below in the description. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We got a big episode next week, so be on the lookout for that. Rev, you got any last thoughts?
Yeah. Follow me on Twitch, dude. Follow me on Twitch. What are you doing? You can catch this live. You can watch me yap in real time and yell at him real time. So that come swing by, bro. All right. See you guys.
See ya.